family-owned shop in Loganville, Soesby's Garage for all your automotive repair needs. We service all makes and models, foreign and domestic. We repair engines, alternators, brakes, alignments, AC systems, and more, using certified technicians with over 90 years of combined experience. We also offer same-day service for some repairs. Soesby's Garage, 200 Bay Creek Road in Loganville. Dependable, honest, and fair. Look us up on Google or Facebook. We'll take good care of you.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. It's time for Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. We are the cornerstone of security in the Southeast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. I'm your host, Rick Strawn, the president of Paradigm Security, and we are excited to be with you today on Business RadioX. We are coming to you from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio, located in the beautiful Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel here in Duluth, Georgia. If you would, please hit that subscribe button for me so that I know that you've been here, and we'll move from there. Each week, we plan to feature businesses in the Atlanta area, especially those that serve Gwinnett County and also people in Gwinnett County. While all businesses have security concerns, not all are about physical security, but we'll touch on that and all aspects related to security through the course of each show. Today, we're particularly going to deal with security. I am pleased to have as a guest today Corporal Mark Still with the Gwinnett County Police Department. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. Mark is a Community Relations Officer with Gwinnett County. Had about 11 years on here. It only probably seems like about 20. But let me just ask you, as I always start, let me ask you the question of who is Mark Still? I mean, where'd you come from? What got you into this?
Yeah, so it's like you said, I've been here, Gwinnett County Police for about 11 years. This will be my 11th year. Started out family business, went to college. We had a construction company, and I worked there, foreman, manager, doing all that kind of stuff, running the show. And 2007, it was like someone turned the switch off.
Remember that well.
It was just the work dried up.
Construction
Banks
away.
quit loaning money. So, policing was always something, like every kid growing up, you want to be a policeman or a fireman. And so after about 3 years of doing nothing and trying to hang on to, hoping the construction would come back, I ended up putting in for Gwinnett, and DeKalb. I think it worked out great.
Absolutely.
I got here first. So, like I said, been here 11 years, enjoying it. Been in the community relations spot here for the last going on 4 years. So it's a little bit different than being on the street and policing, but I get to interact with a lot of people, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know when I first started out in policing a few years ago, we'd go through the training academy. Before we got entered into the training academy, they would suit us up in a uniform and put us out there with community relations. And like an idiot, here I am, a white guy, community relations uniform and all that, and we're getting to patrol out in the hood with the community relations officer. I look back on it and think, God, how stupid.
Yeah.
No gun, no nothing, just sitting there saying, hey, I'm a police.
Wow.
But, that was really it was kind of an interesting learning process. You learned a lot about police, and believe it or not, from the community relations, because you learned how to interact with those people.
Right. Yeah, and that and that's one of the things I really enjoy about the position is when you're a police officer, a lot of times you see people on their worst. Yeah, you're reactive, and a lot of times you see people at their worst. You're meeting them on the days when they've had domestic violence or traffic citation. You're having to write them a citation or a traffic accident.
You get there after it's already hit the fan.
Yeah, and so with my job, at least I'm reacting with the community. Got a lot of love in Gwinnett, honestly, from a lot of people. Dealing with businesses and just the public in general. And so you get it's nice to see both sides of it.
It's much more proactive because you're out there when it's not hitting the fan.
Right.
And you're trying to help show them how to avoid it hitting the fan. So totally get it. Well, I know what you do as a community relations officer for Central is, one of the things is CompStat.
Mm-hmm.
How is CompStat used to benefit the community, and what is CompStat?
Yeah. So basically, apart from me handling citizen complaints, business complaints, which, those range from anything from speeding in the neighborhoods to loitering at their community pool houses, or, loitering at businesses, graffiti. We get that, pretty regular in this area sometimes. My main objective as what they call a CompStat officer, or the community relations officer, is I track all of the Part 1 crimes. So the Part 1 crimes include homicides, robberies, ag assaults, ag batteries,
Burglary,
rapes, burglaries, residential and commercial, entering autos, which is car break-ins, and motor vehicle thefts. So basically every day I pull a report. I read every single report that comes in from a Part 1 crime, and I have a database that I complete. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'm looking for patterns, time of day, day of week, suspect description, vehicle description, and I'm trying to put those stats, together.
Make
so I can
sense
create,
out of them.
Right, so I can create like hot spots where we know where, this area is having a lot of entering autos. So we want to get officers there. We have a community response team or a crime response team, CRT unit. We'll put them, focus their time into areas. So it's a lot of reading reports, but there's a lot of beneficial things when you find that pattern and you get somebody in the right place and they make some arrests. So we have crime analysis unit in our department, which is probably one of our top resources.
Absolutely.
I think we probably do one of the best jobs, around this area. But they're focused on every precinct. They each have their own designated entering autos, but they're dealing with entering autos for 6 precincts, where I'm just focused on the one. So usually I try and beat them. I want to beat them to the punch.
Absolutely.
So that I get it to our guys before it comes out to everybody else. So.
Well, a lot of people, they hear you talk about Part 1, don't have any idea what Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. They don't have any idea what those mean. So where does the designation?
Yeah, so the Part 1 crimes are basically the personal crimes.
Uniform Crime Reporting Agency.
Yep. And
the feds.
those are the Part 1 crimes for us that we track. Those are the ones that are personal. They're personal crimes, people crimes. So those are the ones we can usually do the most about. Because they're usually active crimes. Some of the other, the financial identity crimes and those kind of things, those are always aftermath crimes.
Absolutely.
We're always going to be investigating them afterwards. So,
a lot of people don't know that UCR comes up from the federal government. It's a crime reporting stat that every police department operates under the same UCR Part 1, 2, and 3 crime system.
Yep, exactly.
What crime issues do we have in this area?
Yeah, so
I know we don't have many.
Yeah, exactly. So our area isn't much different than every other area. Pretty much every area you go to is going to have crime. You're never going to find an area that you don't have crime. You can go to the Sugarloaf Country Club, which people who, if you're not around here, that's one of our high end neighborhoods in Gwinnett and Duluth area. A lot of basketball players, football players, record executives and that kind of stuff live there. So there's crime in there. You go to Chateau Alon, there's crime, So, you're never
Even the jail's got crime.
Yeah, exactly. You're never far from crime when there's an opportunity, and that's all. That's all it comes down to. So, some of our main issues that we have here in the in Central and in the CID area are our entering autos, our robberies, and our motor vehicle thefts. So, our entering autos. We usually range anywhere between, depending on the month, anywhere from 85 is probably our average incidents per month, and that's Central Precinct wide. They're a little bit smaller number in the CID as far as the business district, but a lot of times our business district does drive those numbers just because of the large quantity of victims and target areas.
Well, it's kind of the heart of the whole county.
Yeah, I mean we're at a disadvantage a lot of times in that way because we have so many malls, we have so many hotels, quality restaurants, high-end restaurants, schools. I mean, you think about all the schools that we have here. parks. We have really, really nice parks. Those end up being target areas. So
a lot of thoroughfares right through here.
Exactly.
Too. A lot of main roads
Exactly.
cross through this
Yep,
section.
Exactly, and that's that drives crime. So, one of the big things about our entering autos is a lot of times those can be prevented and curbed just by locking your doors. And usually we run anywhere between 40 to 50% of our entering autos are unlocked. And that's just
That's an instant invitation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, you're never, it's always going to be hard to stop those criminal rings that are coming here, smashing windows and doing that kind of stuff. If you can prevent the just average Joe who's going to take the opportunity to commit a crime because he thinks it's going to go undetected, that's where you can stop.
Well, you just cut 40% of them off.
Right,
if you get rid of that.
Right.
I know I was listening to you in the CID meeting the other day, and you were talking about how those particular Part 1 crimes, for the most part, have really gone down in the area.
Yeah. Now we are so. Right
Of course,
now,
you got the holiday season coming.
Yeah. Now that's going to kick off. So right now, because of COVID-19 and some of the other stuff, we're down about 25 to 30% on most of our crimes.
That's great.
So our entering autos, we've been we're way down on them this year, by about 400 incidents as of yesterday.
Well, I know our CID vehicles have been really focused on these mall areas and these parking lots,
Right.
and these cars and these hotels.
Yeah, and we have too. Is that's part of my job is finding out where those hot spots are and then getting those out to our units. So we spend a lot of time. And the sad thing is with Gwinnett being such a large area, sometimes we move them from one district to the next district, and then they just take our crime.
Yep.
We'd like to move them further away.
We used to do that in Atlanta by moving them to DeKalb County.
Yeah. We would like to move them to DeKalb as well. Sometimes because we're such a large county, they just jump from one precinct to the next precinct where they're not being as active or don't realize that there's an issue going on there yet. So.
Yep. They're always interested in, and it's what I tell people, criminals are looking for places that they're least likely to get caught.
Right. Exactly.
Or least likely to even get confronted.
Yep.
So the more patrol you have, the more visibility you have. It's just like our officers. If you got somebody on a site, the more visible you are, the more likely that guy's going to say, I think I'll go to the next property and do it instead of this one because they're going to call the police on me. So
yeah, and and that's I'd mentioned that we have robberies, and we usually average about 10 robberies a month in this area, and a lot of those end up being just cases where you gave them opportunity, being out late at night, and obviously sometimes we're going to live our lives. We're going to go out to bars. We're going to be out late. Some of us are leaving jobs late.
Yep.
So we can't always deter that. But if you can, it's better not to be out really late at night. If you've got to be out with a group of people.
And pay attention to
pay
your
attention.
surroundings.
And I always tell people if there's so many times that I've had incidences where I notice someone noticing me.
Yep.
And usually I'll call out to them. I say, hey, how's it going, buddy? Because what you want to do is you want them to know that you've noticed them and that you've just taken note
that you're aware.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're looking for that person who's not.
Absolutely.
So if you're not paying attention, you're more likely to be the one who gets violated or becomes.
My experience is most criminals, when you really get down to it, are cowards.
Yeah, they are.
They do not want confrontation.
Exactly.
They want to sneak up behind you and catch you by surprise. They don't want to take a chance that you're going to be onto them and you're going to be proactive and pull out something before they do.
Yep, exactly. And as far as our businesses here, we do pretty well because we patrol so much, so our businesses aren't targeted as much. I think we probably usually have maybe 3. Sometimes we'll go months without having a business robbery.
Right.
And then we may have we'll have an incident where we have 2 or 3. I always tell our businesses, I don't know if I can mention a business name on here.
You can mention any business you want to.
So I always when I'm doing community events and stuff, I always bring up Quick Trip. Quick Trip to me is probably one of the top if you look at their model for being crime preventative. If you look at their parking lots, they're always clean. They do the small stuff. So the broken windows.
Yep. Stay away from broken windows.
Yep. Take care of the small things and handle the small things, and the larger things won't come there. So if you're ever at Quick Trip, and I'm there a lot,
I know the feeling.
So, at nighttime, usually the clerks, even when they work a store by themselves, they're out. They'll come out. They take the trash out. They'll do a trash run by the pumps. They pick up what's in the parking lot. They take care of those small things. Where if there's not a lot of trash, if you show up if you're a criminal and you show up and there's no trash in the parking lot, you're going, man, this place, they're on top of things. They're walking around here.
They're paying attention.
Exactly. If you go somewhere and there's trash blown up against the side of a fence, and there's just stuff everywhere, people aren't paying as much attention. So
absolutely,
they're going to target those places more. So Quick Trip also, one of the things they do, they have that raised platform, so they're above their customers when they come in. And another thing they've, and I recommend this to all businesses, is to make a policy of introducing yourself to your customers as they come in, and be vocal about it.
Absolutely.
Quick Trip, if you go into a Quick Trip, they're always going to say, welcome, hey, how's it going? Because what you're doing is you're giving that person coming in that, hey, I've seen you, I've made notice of you, and
I'm well aware that you're here.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to steal something from me because I just saw you, and if you do, I'm going to have a description of you. So those things go a long way in playing into, like you said, criminals want an opportunity that isn't this easy.
Yeah.
So if you create an environment that is not easy for them, bright lights, you've already said that I'm here, and you're aware of me, they're going to go down to the next service station that isn't being, so. Well,
that was one of the things I was going to bring up, and you just mentioned it, is Quick Trip has an extremely good lighting resource around their place. Everything is well lit, and that's one of the best things that you can do for any business, is to have everything well lit. Yep. Same way with a home.
Yep, absolutely.
Just don't have a lot of dark places for people to hide in.
Yeah, and that's one of for our crime prevention officers, and that's one of the things they target the most is your lighting. Lighting and shrubbery and bushes and that kind of stuff. Those are your two top things. It's called CPTED. It's crime prevention through environmental design. So you have a lot of light. You're going to prevent hiding places, that kind of stuff. We have the 210 or 2-6 rule, where any bushes, you want your bushes below 2 feet, and you want your trees cut so that where they don't hang down any lower than 6 feet. So that gives you a good visible area where you can see anyone trying to commit a crime or trying to do a crime. So, but yeah, lighting is one of those huge things for home businesses.
I know when we go in, have someone call us to talk about security, we go out and we do a site assessment and all that. And the first thing we do is we pay attention. We'll go out there and tell them that we're going to come back here at night and take a look, because we want to see if your lighting, and that's the first thing we tell them, is we have actually told people we're not going to put you security out here until you do something about your lighting.
Right.
It's not safe for our officers, and it's sure inviting to the other people if you don't have that lighting in place.
Yeah, and now I believe like Georgia Power, maybe Jackson EMC, they've been doing upgrades for businesses where they'll actually come in and do LED lighting, and a lot of some of that stuff is, from my understanding, is free at some points. Depending on the size of your business, that kind of stuff. Those are great, things to take an opportunity and try and do if you can do it. So.
Absolutely. Well, what are some resources available to the community for gathering information about crimes and issues in their community?
So probably, everyone's so technological driven now. Technology is every part of our life. So, the being connected as far as your crime, I think that's the easiest way to do it. We have a Twitter page and a Facebook page. So you can follow us at Twitter at Gwinnett PD, and then we have a Facebook page called it's Gwinnett Police. Gwinnett County Police without the department, so just Gwinnett County Police, and we give updates in those. We send out a lot of times we'll get missing persons BOLO alerts, for crimes that have happened. I think we just had one recently. We actually got solved where we put one out where several months ago a lady got carjacked. Out, it wasn't in this area. It was a little out towards one of the neighborhoods, but she got carjacked, and it ended up going out on in a bolo, be on the lookout on our Twitter and Facebook page, and they ended up identifying him last week. I believe they posted an update that they had arrested him. So, and all that came from social media. So
that's great. How's that Nextdoor app work?
So there's
work pretty good.
Yeah, I'm part of Nextdoor and what they call Neighbors app. Nextdoor's they're very similar in aspects. The Neighbors app is actually run by Ring cameras. However, what a lot of people don't know is that they let anyone have access to it. So if you have, I'm trying to think some of the other cameras, the
Ring's the only one I can think of.
Yeah. There's like Wise. I think there's several camera systems out there, but they actually allow you to post on this app and be part of it. So you can share your videos and do that kind of stuff. Those are good things to be active in. And one thing about the Neighbors is we actually, as a department, partnered with Ring and the Neighbors app, I guess about 1.5 years ago. And so they actually give us access. Usually when you sign up for these places, you have to put in your address. You usually only get access to, that area of so that you don't have a lot of people posting stuff that, isn't related to your area. So they actually we actually have logins as our police names. Like mine will say Corporal Mark Still, Gwinnett County Police, and I actually can respond on there. Our crime analysis monitors that stuff. So, if you have something that happens in your neighborhood, and a lot of times crimes go unreported because some people think they're just insignificant. They don't want to bother the police.
And they just don't want to get involved.
Exactly. They don't want to get involved. But a lot of times they'll throw it out on social media, so that they're letting their neighbors know.
Yep.
Well, sometimes we see those things, and we may have had an entering auto that happened, in the next neighborhood, and we have no images of it. And then, we're looking at what's going on the Neighbors app, and all of a sudden we see our suspect vehicle come across in a Ring footage or other footage. So, those are one of those great things for them to put out there so that we can have that resource.
Well, I've noticed that my Ring that I have online, it will send me notices in some other neighborhoods that you've recent update, notification and such.
Yeah.
This is happening in another neighborhood.
Yep.
I always read them.
Yeah, I do too. I think
Can't help it.
Yeah, I think it's good to be on top of it. Another thing, Crime Stoppers of Atlanta, they have a Facebook page. I think it's Crime Stoppers Greater Atlanta is the one that covers our area too. So, and they post, City of Atlanta, DeKalb, Gwinnett, probably Rockdale and some of the other surrounding areas. They'll post bolos that we put out, and they'll share our tweets and our Facebook pages. So that's another good resource. And and Crime Stoppers, I don't know, a lot of people, you can be anonymous and give a tip, and if there's an arrest made, you actually get paid. So that's one of those things. It's almost like playing the lottery every day. You're just checking to see who might have committed a crime that you might bump into. So
the important thing, I think, for the people is to know that it's important to, when you see something, say something,
exactly.
As they say. But say something, put it out there on your social media.
Yeah.
You never know who is going to recognize what you're putting out and say, I know who that is.
Exactly.
And make that call. You just never know.
Yeah, and that goes, as far, a lot of times people, we go out all the time and people don't want to be bothered. They feel like, sometimes it's not even they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to feel like they're a bother to the police. And I always try to tell people, don't feel that way, because we're here to serve you. Give us something to do, because sometimes we do have downtime. And if we've got downtime, if you think there's a suspicious person walking around your neighborhood, we want to come out there and investigate.
Absolutely.
Because there's 3 things that are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to get an officer in your neighborhood for free. Just all of a sudden you got
a little patrol service.
Yeah, got a little patrol. We're going to come out. We're going to contact the person. Make contact with them. They're either going to have a legitimate reason to be there, or they're not going to have a legitimate reason to be there. And number 3, they're going to go to jail if they don't have a legitimate reason.
Yeah, they're going to go home if
exactly,
they do.
Yeah, exactly. So all 3 of those, you still got a police officer in your neighborhood for a short period of time.
Yeah, a lot of people think that, well, what if it's a neighbor and I don't want to make them mad? Most people have no problem if they're legitimately there, and that's what people need to understand. They don't have a problem with getting checked on. They appreciate the fact that somebody's checking and looking, because it might be somebody that's going to break into their house.
Yeah. And I think that's where social media has been such a downfall is, people, and I get people come up to me all the time saying, man, I just want to say thank you for what you do. I know you don't hear it often. And, sometimes I look at them and I'm like, well, you're the fifth or sixth person that's told me that this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get a perception that what we see on Facebook and Twitter and, these other social media, Instagram, that these are our realities. And that, everyone is against the police. And I'm the only one, if you're sitting there thinking, man, I really support the police. And no one else does. I'm the only one. But, it's really not that way.
Absolutely.
And, most of the time people want us in their neighborhoods. They usually do. And usually the ones who speak the loudest that don't want us in neighborhoods are usually the ones who we're not.
Meth lab in the basement.
Yeah, well, exactly. They have a criminal element, or they're the ones who don't need us in their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
They live in neighborhoods where there's not a lot of crime, and they're usually the most vocal. And you go into some of our neighborhoods that are
the gated communities.
Yeah, where if you go into Section 8, some of the Section 8 housing and stuff, a lot of times those people that aren't part of the criminal element,
they appreciate
us being on it because they see it, and they don't want the drug dealer living next door to them, so that it's social media, I think, has blurred the line between reality so much in every aspect of our life. So
totally agree.
But I always tell people, give us a call. Most of the time, 99% of the time when we make contact with someone, it's fine.
It's positive.
Yeah. Even if it's an arrest, a lot of times it's positive.
Yep.
Because, I've been thanked several times, going to jail, and they're like, hey, I really appreciate the way you treated me. I know I was doing wrong. And, they apologize when they're going, man, that was really dumb what I was doing, So
I used to get that.
Yeah.
And the only time I had somebody that didn't feel that way is that they were really just hard into the criminal element, and they didn't care what you did.
Right.
And generally there was a confrontation because they initiated it.
Yeah. And they had played the system. They knew how they knew they're going to get back out, and they're going to be doing the same thing.
Today they're back out pretty quick.
Yep, exactly.
Well, what's some of the technologies the department uses to generate leads and solve crimes? I know you got the doorbell cameras, but what other stuff is there for people to use?
Yeah,
we kind of talked about some of them.
Yes, and exactly. So that's the doorbell, private security cameras. And I've seen, I said I've been here about 11 years, so I came here, right at the beginning of 2010. When I was on patrol, and I would go to a house, if someone had a security camera, it was almost like why do they have a security camera? Mm-hmm. Because they were expensive back then. If you had a security camera, you spent some money to have a security camera. Security cameras now are so cheap and inexpensive, and you got the wireless systems. Most of them you can have them wired yourself. You can do them in a day yourself. So
go to Lowe's and pick up
exactly. So now
system.
Now they're so readily available, and we're able to that's one of those things we try and force feed to our officers. Hey, look for cameras when you're on these scenes. Even if you can't make contact with them, let a detective know that
it's
there was a
help
camera
to the
across.
detectives.
Exactly. So we get so much of our leads come in from doorbell cameras, security cameras. When I first started, a lot of crimes went unsolved because there were no leads. You have a crime that occurs, you don't have a suspect, you don't have a vehicle, there's no video camera footage. Those individual crimes, they went unsolved a lot of times just because we didn't have the ability to generate any leads.
And they were a lot more numerous back then because of the lack of those cameras as well.
Yeah, I used to, when I was on the road, you hardly ever saw a house get broken into that had an alarm. You may have a lot of times they end up even getting reported as property damage because they get a window smashed, and the alarm sensor goes off, the alarm goes off, and they're gone. And the homeowner says, well, it may have been somebody in the neighborhood just threw a rock or something. So sometimes they went underreported. Where now, if you don't have a security system, if you don't have an alarm system, but you got a security system, that deters them because they have visible. Now they don't even get to your house because they've seen, man, there's a Ring doorbell. I'm going to the neighborhood. I don't see one over there. So those are deterrents for the homeowners, but they also become a really, really good resource for us as well. And like I mentioned, we monitor the Neighbors app, so we get a lot of leads from those. We're looking for those leads. Our crime analysis unit, they're on there, every day. They go on there. I go on there I get alerts to my email that says, hey, there was a crime in your in your precinct area. So I read all of those, but I usually try and go in there and just look at the ones that, people will make them as not a suspicious person, they just like a random visitor or something. I can't remember how it's noted in the system, but I'll go look at those because sometimes those are our burglary suspects who are casing, neighborhoods. So
we had one come up the other day that was on Neighbor, I think it was, but said that has anybody seen this guy on a bicycle, the white guy on a red bicycle that's right around, he's in the neighborhoods and stopping and this, that.
Yeah.
And so it got out there real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great resource for citizens and for us.
What's the future technology look like as it relates to crime and policing and?
Well, let me just go back to that neighborhood app.
Sure.
Once, I said they've let us given us access for it. I just want to make it clear that they're not giving us access to your cameras.
Right.
So we're not, we don't have the ability to go in and pull your camera footage. They're just giving us access to the footage that whatever you're uploading on their neighbor's app, we have access to that. Yeah. So I think sometimes people, they think,
Big Brother is not
Big
watching.
Brother's pulling the camera. We're we've got enough going on that we don't need to come and look and see what you're what you're doing in your backyard.
That's a good point.
I just did want to make that clear. So, So, we've got this. A lot of other departments have it. A lot of the big other agencies called like a real crime time center. Mm-hmm. Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, a lot of these other, major city players, they have these real crime time centers. And I guess it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago we started looking at this and trying to figure out, how we could use it in our department. And 2018, I think it was the county, as far as the board of commissioners said, hey, yeah, let's spend some money to figure out if we can make this work. Well, they spent the money, and we're right on top of having a real crime time center here in Gwinnett. We've already put some analysis in there, and so basically what it is, I think we're calling it the Situational Awareness and Crime Center, and basically what it'll be is it's a room at our headquarters with TV monitors, and you've got sworn officers, civilian officers that are analyzing crime, and basically it will happen is, and this is coming up real near future, where call takers will take a report or take a report of a crime going on. It'll get forwarded over to our crime center along with the officer who's ever responding, and the crime center will begin trying to research what's going on in that area, research the location, trying to say, hey, have we had any incidents here before? Did we have any suspects there? Do we have any suspect vehicles?
Is this in progress?
This is in progress. Yeah. So, and then that information will get funneled to the officer, hopefully before he even gets on scene.
It's almost like having somebody on a radio transmit right in there to you as it's
like
going on.
You have someone on scene. So
like you're in the car listening, they're giving you your feedback.
So that's going to be something that it's really going to change policing.
Absolutely.
And it's already done it in places. Atlanta, they have. I wish I could remember the number, but it's an amazing number of cameras they have access to.
Yes, they do.
And and I think they're private cameras. They're their own cameras, and I believe the businesses can sign up to allow them to have access into these cameras. And Atlanta can actually pull up camera feeds from all these little places, so if you have a robbery in progress and you pull it up and you may see the robbery occurring and see a vehicle leaving, and now you've got a vehicle.
And they can, based on the directions, they can start accessing the feeds and actually follow the vehicle.
So now you actually have, in what we're looking for is to have, citizens don't think like police officers.
No.
So what we want to have is when you see, a crime, if we can see a crime in progress and we have officers, in a room who are watching this, they're going to be giving out the information that's pertinent to police.
And they're able to anticipate.
Yeah, exactly. The anticipation is a lot of times it may be 2 minutes on a call before we get the real information that we need, because you'll get the citizens are, they're going through a traumatic experience, or they're experiencing this or seeing this. So their mind's giving out an overload of information, and we're trying to pick out the small parts. Well, that's what we want to do with the crime center, is we're just going to be able to pick out, there's the car, which way is it going? This is the description, give that description out. And as the future leads, if I mean, obviously we're going to have some work to do, in Gwinnett, getting access to cameras and that kind of footage and stuff.
Well, it's great that it's coming in on a scale that's fitting our county versus
right.
just a big metropolitan area.
And, they went around, they visited a ton of the counties and, metropolitan cities and stuff. Chicago has a center, which amazes me. They actually have a gunshot technology, where if a gunshot is fired in a vicinity, their cameras can actually sense where that sound transferred from, and it will go to the area where the shot was fired. That's amazing to me.
And those systems also, I know there's quite a few school systems are putting them in, where you can actually tell the caliber,
right.
Everything else, and based on the sound.
Yeah,
it runs into an algorithm, and it can spit out all the information about the weapon and everything else.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
These are amazing and life-changing times. We've coming from, and I'll go to some of these meetings and stuff, and where other departments come in, and Gwinnett didn't experience it as much as far as like the loss of officers during the downturn of the economy. In the 2000s.
It's called backing.
Yeah, but I'll be in some meetings that I've heard chiefs in Texas and some of these other places where they cut their department by 15 to 25%, and they've never regained that cut, and they never will.
It's easy to go down. It's hard to go up.
So the technology is what we're going to have to, to in the future. And it's harder to get police officers just because of the just social media, exactly everything that's going on. People just don't want to come put a uniform on anymore.
Yep.
So technology, being able to use technology to benefit us is going to be a great thing, and obviously it's going to make citizens safer, as well. And that's what we're looking for. Reduce crime, make your
a safe place to live, work, and play.
Exactly.
Well, I got one last question, and I think everybody would really be in this. It's holiday time. We've got a lot of people out shopping. People just going, even despite the fact you can go to Amazon and buy whatever you want, there's still a lot of people out there shopping because it's just what you do during the season. Well, what are some of the best things that they can do as far as tips to avoid being a victim?
Yeah, so let's start with shopping. One of the biggest things I would say, as far as when you go out, if you're going out shopping, you're not buying online. If you've saved up the cash and you're trying to spend the cash, and I see this all the time, people go up to pay for something, and
pull out a wad of
exactly
money.
They're paying for a $50 item, and they pull out $500, and they're counting out the cash, and I'm sitting there looking, being an honest person, a police officer, I'm going,
stupid,
man, that is so. I hope the guy behind me isn't a criminal, because he's counting the same amount of money I am. So I tell you, if you have to take cash, if you're out with your husband or your wife, each of you take $100. Put $100 here, put $100 there. When you're going through the store, try and count up what you're going to purchase, and if you can discreetly get that out, behind some clothes or something where I'm going to spend $100. I got 50 in this pocket and 50 in this pocket. Let's put this together. Then when you walk up there, you're giving $100, and they think, man, they just spent all their money.
Yep.
And so that's that's one of the big things. Trying to avoid that cash, if you can. If you purchase something in a store or a mall, especially a mall, if you purchase something in the mall and you're going to go back to your car because you don't want to carry it around, as much as a hassle as it is, put the stuff in the trunk and drive to another part of the mall.
Yep.
Because they're
preferably on the opposite side.
Opposite side. Yep. And it is a hassle, but people sit in those parking lots, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for those people who come out and put stuff in their car because they're going to steal it. You're an easy target. You have brand new products.
With all the electronic stuff they've got nowadays, they can pop your trunk or pop your car and never have to break the glass in a matter of 30 seconds.
Yeah, going back to entering autos real quick, there's some cars we were having, and he had to have been a Nissan mechanic or something. He was breaking into cars, hardly just rolling windows down. So, and I still don't know how he was doing it, but basically he knew what part of the car where to punch the lock or use the lock to actually lower the windows, or he was doing something where he was defeating the door mechanism, and people were thinking, I left my car unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
And then several weeks later, they're like, man, you might, my car's damaged. Just not.
You find that little hole up under the handle or something.
So it's amazing, what what people are able to do. And one of the last things as far as shopping, if you're going to purchase an Apple product, try and make that your last purchase. And if you have to go, I recommend, I bought my daughter an iPad this year, and I made that purchase. I went straight home because being an officer, I know it's just the way it is. If you have a product like that, it just seems like it's going to get stolen.
They got eyes on the Apple stores.
Right? Yeah, they do. So if you come out, even if you it's not a common occurrence, but we have had people who were followed home and had their Apple products stolen.
Had that a lot with jewelry and stuff.
Or followed to restaurants. And that happens. That does happen a lot, where they actually followed, they probably followed them from a restaurant where they left the Apple store. They went next door to eat and they broke into the car. So if if you're going to buy an Apple product, make it your last purchase and go straight home, and going to, if you're ordering online, trying to do things. If you have to get, a package delivered when you're not there, if you can make a arrangement where they put it off to the side or note where it's not in light of the door or visible from the street, that'll save you. If you can get a neighbor to pick it up, that's a great thing. I just did a thing where I actually had it delivered to a cell phone store the other day, a product, and
that's an idea.
Yeah, and I went in there and I was like, "Hey, do you have my product?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's back here." And all I did was I showed him the code that they'd sent me when it was delivered to there. Got my package safe. It was inside of a business. I didn't have to worry about someone picking it up off my doorstep and getting away. And it was a big item, purchase that I didn't want to get stolen. So, as far as home security for the holidays, keeping your house visible. Obviously with lighting stuff, some of the stuff we've talked about. But one of the main things that I see a lot of times from my friends and family is posting on Facebook and Instagram
pictures of what's coming,
yep. Where you're going. Oh look, we're getting together with this side of the family, and now you've let everyone know
we'll be gone between this time and this time on this date.
You've let everybody on your friends list know, and some of your family that you and your family are going to be at this location from during this time. So trying to avoid posting those gatherings and schedules. If you have a gathering or a schedule, post it. Make a Facebook page just for your family, where you're sharing that kind of stuff. Avoid posting pictures on Facebook of your trees, and everybody wants to do it.
We just got 5 new Apple laptops.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. And that leads into what I call the Christmas aftermath. And working. As police officers, we work holidays a lot of times, and the days after Christmas, I would ride around and I would see people put the 70-inch, well, back then it was probably 65, 55. Now everything's so big, but they put the 55-inch TV box out at the street, and there'd be 2 or 3 of them.
That's what's in my house.
Exactly. Everybody got a TV. Everybody got a PlayStation or something, and the boxes are at the street. And I'm thinking, man, if I'm a criminal, this is the easiest way to make an inventory of what these people have. I don't have to case the house. I know what's in there.
I can tell you what I do. I take those boxes and I cut them up in small enough pieces to put in the trash can.
I do too.
On the day the trash is being picked up.
I do the exact same thing. And actually, this is just a tip for people. I actually cut the labels off, and I keep those where they have the serial numbers. If they ever get stolen, I've got them I put them in a plastic bag in a filing cabinet.
And nothing with my address goes on that to go in the trash.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Well, listen, I could talk with you for about another hour, and I guess we ought to pull a close. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate
and
you
talking
having
about
me.
all this. You need to come back on when the aftermath occurs.
We'll do.
And then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in our wonderful county, especially this central district where I spend so much time.
Yep.
It's great.
Yep.
Well, thank you for joining us on Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. Thanks for staying with us while we ran a little longer today. I hope you enjoyed all that extra information that Corporal Still gave you. Remember, you can join us live every Wednesday at 11:30 in the morning, or you can listen to our show anytime you want by going to Business RadioX.com, clicking on the Gwinnett Studio, and then, of course, click on Case in Point. Again, be sure and hit that subscribe button for me, please. Join us next week at 11:30 when we will talk with business leaders and business people about their businesses and related security issues in today's world. Thanks again to my guest, Corporal Mark Still with the Gwinnett County Police Department. For our producers, Mike and Amanda, I'm Rick Strawn, and remember, at Paradigm Security Services, we cover more than just your assets.